to the Sad Dad Games podcast. I'm Shan.
My name is Eric.
I'm Tucker.
And I'm Emerlie.
Today we'll be talking about The Last of Us Part 2. Part 2 of Abby's Day 1, because we're going to do it in 3 takes. She just keeps going. They really want to make you like her. They keep giving you save the cat moments with her because they're just trying so hard to give you some of that cognitive dissonance. They're like, we need you to understand that she's okay, right? Is that what you're getting out of this?
Yeah, these thumbnail titles are starting to get a little out of hand because it's The Last of Us Part 2, Seattle Day 1, Part 2 of Part 1 of Part 3 of Part 2.
Yeah. We should have
a lot of parts.
1 and 2. And,
yeah, a lot of Save the Cat moments have contributed to that, so blame Naughty Dog, not us.
Really, if you think about it, it's Naughty Dog's fault for not just naming the game The Last of Us 2. They named it Part 2 and they made it confusing for the rest of us. So really it's their fault. We're just doing our best with what they gave us.
Yeah, but we are the ones that chose Day 1 Part 1, right?
Yes,
like we could have done
Naughty Dog's
Take
fault.
1 or something.
Incorrect. Yeah,
we royally effed up.
No, the way that we choose to do things is always correct. It's probably Naughty Dog's fault.
Yeah, we are never wrong. We are
perfect in
our decision.
I've never done anything wrong ever.
I know this.
Money, please.
If anything, adding extra words to our description and title are going to only improve our SEO and the search algorithm in YouTube, right? So if we put part 2 in there like 3 times in a title, that'll surface us right to the top.
Yeah, it's like
Part 2, bam, there we are.
There you go. It's like when you try to find something on Amazon and the title is like 40 words. It's like wooden desk 4-leg for computers with clamp, desk chair with leg, desk chair, office with desk, and you're like, great, that's the name? That's the name of the item? I was looking just for exactly that thing.
That one. All right. So at the beginning of this take, or this section of Day 1 of Abby, we are at the entrance of the aquarium, and Owen, being the sadistic person that he is, has lured Abby somehow on a Ferris wheel to great heights, and he is just being coquettish. He wants to get her to jump off of a Ferris wheel. I don't even remember what the dialogue is leading up to the jump. Is it just like, I think, are they talking about the Fireflies to some degree, or it's been a year now?
Yeah, so I think this is a flashback.
Yeah,
obviously this is a flashback, and so Owen and Abby are a little bit younger, and they're talking about, I think they are, I didn't make a specific note of what their conversation was about, mostly because I was so annoyed with Owen. I was like,
he was like a middle schooler trying to impress a girl.
Yeah.
Look how cool I am. I can swing on this Ferris wheel.
First of all, not like that. This isn't something that Abby is like, Abby is scared of bugs. I'm gonna, show a bug at like this. Abby has legit vertigo. This is a real actual phobia for her that affects her mentally. And Owen's up here like shaking the Ferris wheel around and trying to get her to jump, and is just being a total butt about it. So this was the opposite of a save the cat moment for Owen. For me, it made me not like Owen very much in this moment. It's like, Owen's being a freaking butthead.
Vertigo is the disorder, and the fear of heights is unrelated, but she, I think, has both.
Yeah,
but she's just all messed up in the head.
All messed up in the head.
And he's just abusing it. But yeah, this reminds me of like all of us in college, right? Because like all of us were desperate for female attention.
What?
Not me.
No, well,
Emerlie was desperate for female attention. Yeah.
You weren't there.
Oh. No, I was.
I was talking about the we, the male we, the wee.
The wee-wee-wees.
Yeah.
Gosh, that was solid. Um,
Just like my weed.
We got to keep the
Oh
wee
my
wee joke in.
God.
Yeah, it's really good.
I'm gonna exit stage left. Thank you so
yeah.
much.
So, all of us desperate for attention, and just like whenever any of us got like a female in our orbit, the rest of us who didn't had to watch as the other like just acted like a complete buffoon and idiot, and just like prostrated himself in front of this woman, just doing completely absurd things and we would just like be on the sidelines giving it like a 0 or 1 out of 10. Like we knew that these were stupid things. We knew that this person was never going to land this girl.
I don't know if you knew this, but pretty girls turn young men into absolute idiots. Just
It reminds me of that bird that's like trying to like attract a mate, and it's just like
it's doing little birds do crazy things.
yeah.
I could watch like bird mating situations all day long. They build weird nests. They like collect there's so many different birds do so many different things. So
That reminds me of
I'm on a
17.
tangent now. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Reminds me of 17 again. Are you peacocking? Is it working?
Is it working?
Are you a raccoon? Because you've been running around my head all day. This is Tom in Parks and Rec.
Oh.
When he's peacocking with that stupid hat on, and then Ron puts it on,
Yeah.
and he just like
Nice
attracts
hat.
a woman. Yeah, nice hat. It's like it's because he's an alpha male. Like he just
Yeah.
he's
It's the
just Ron
mustache.
Swanson.
Yeah.
Ron Swan. It just works. Anyway, so I wanted to ask. I had the realization while playing this time. Why did they give Abby the fear of heights? Any thoughts?
Because she was good at everything else.
I can't believe that I never
You didn't think about it.
Well, no, and I think that speaks to how integral it is to the character and how naturally it fits in. Is that I have never once been like, why did the writers give that to? I have no idea. I haven't spared it a single thought. It was just a part of Abby's character that
Yeah.
I didn't even think about. So
Yeah.
failure on my part.
I don't know. It was so much like what it was, so much as she had to have something. They had to give her a great emotional vulnerability that they could constantly be haranguing so that you could feel bad for her all the time. They needed to tear down her defenses because she's a very strong person, but also just because you hate this person for having killed Joel and you want to murder her. So let's give her the fear of heights and let's constantly be doing like one of my favorite sections in the entire game is crossing over the skyscrapers and then the descent. Love that section.
That's day 2, right?
That's day 2, I believe. Yeah. And she is just constantly terrified. She is weakened to her greatest vulnerability, and she just like she's shaky and she's weak, and it's at this moment that she's able to just like her defenses are down, and she with Lev or Yara or both, and she's able to just kind of start to relate to them and stuff. But like that's when you start to feel bad for her, and you're like, oh, she's a human, and maybe I can start to see her that way. Um, maybe I can start to feel the way for her that I felt in some way for Ellie in the previous game, because I also went on an emotional journey with Ellie. So it's just sort of like a fast track way to feel bad for her like Ellie. And that's why we get some of the greatest emotional and character journey with Abby in such a short time. That's why I love Abby's story so much, because we get that. We also get the Rat King. She has the best parts of the game because we have to love and hate. We have to go through far more emotions in such a small amount of time so that we care about her as much as Ellie in equal amount of time so that we are conflicted by the end of the game.
Yeah, it's a similar way of how just in life it's really easy to villainize people when you don't know them. and just generalize
Mm-hmm.
them who they are. And we do that with Abby at the very beginning of the game. We see that she doesn't like Joel. She kills Joel. We're already close to Joel.
She doesn't like him. She doesn't like him very much. Yeah.
And so it's really easy to villainize her and say, everything about her is bad. I don't care who she is, what she's done. Like, I'm going to kill her. But then you get to play as her, and you get to know her. And it's not just knowing her background and her friends and those relationships, but knowing her fears and her vulnerabilities that allows us to actually begin to like Abby and begin to sympathize with her. And that villain cloak gets taken off with these vulnerabilities, coupled with understanding her relationships and her background and her personality.
And I think with this game too, I really love how it sneaks up on you, because you're really mad at her, and then you start playing as her, and they just, even at the beginning when it's taking a while to get to know her and her, her true story, they have to throw in some stuff for you to get to know her personality, and having those little things like fear of heights, it just starts to humanize her, and there's just little tiny bits here and there that start to culminate, and then you get to the end of her 3 days, and you don't even realize until they have their they start hashing it out again back to Ellie with Abby, and it just suddenly hits you, and it's very surprising where you're like, oh shoot, who am I rooting for? And especially by the time you get to the end of the game, you're like, oh no, like I really don't know who should win. You're really confused on your feelings because now you can relate to both. So I really love how they it's this little trickle effect where it just, you don't even realize that that she is being humanized to you. So I really love that they added that.
Yeah, you get to the theater and Ellie's she's just like a creepy little girl, just like crawling around the theater, like putting down pipe bombs and trying to stab you in the face. And you're like, I don't want you to kill me. I don't want to die. I don't want to hurt you either. You're like, I get it now. I'm conflicted.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
If you wanted to die, you would throw yourself at the pipe bomb and then the game would be over.
Yeah. I think that they do a great job of that. And I've got a lot of thoughts when we get to that part of the game, but they do such a good job of making you care about Ellie at the beginning, which is not really hard because you care about her, kind of carries over from the first game. But then making you care about Abby is pretty hard, because for the first half of the game, she is the big bad. She's the main villain. And then halfway through the game, they just start over, and then they make you play the game as the villain and to put you in her shoes so that you have to sympathize with, and I keep using the word villain because I don't believe Abby is the villain, but
she is from one perspective.
She is from one perspective, exactly. So, but then to put you in her shoes, and it like Emerlie said, it happens so gradually that like when you first start playing as Abby, you're like, screw this chick, I hate this, I like not into this. And then over the course of when you play those, Seattle Day 1, 2, and 3 as Abby, and then you just are fully like care about her and all of the characters around her and are really invested in that. So it's a really fulfilling journey that we get to go on with Abby.
Yeah. All right, well, then we jump in the water. We go into the aquarium.
Yeah, because Owen does first because he's a butthead. Freaking Owen.
He's big. Well, he's an alpha male, and he's got to show how cool he is.
I'm so cool. Look at me. I'm a 14-year-old boy. I jump in the water. He's not 14, but he acts like a 14-year-old boy.
He's the same alpha male as what's his bucket that went to jail in Romania.
Andrew Tate.
Andrew Tate. Yeah, he's the same kind of
Andrew
alpha
Tate.
male.
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, just self-proclaimed, but just really a hoe.
Yeah, I don't know that he's that level, but exactly the self-proclaimed, maybe just like trying too hard.
Yeah.
If you are, then you just are, like a Ron Swanson.
And I can make this argument kind of as we talk more about Owen, but my main beef with Owen is that I think he's selfish.
Mm-hmm.
And that bothers me. Yeah. But I think he's a brilliant character, and I think that he, like, that's the thing is with all the characters in this game, I have problems with some of them as like people, because I'm like, you would bug me in real life, or like I don't like what you're doing. But there are such excellent characters that are so expertly placed exactly where they should be in the story that I don't dislike any of the characters from a plot perspective, but sometimes they do things that I'm like, I hated that. Like, I don't know if that makes sense, but yeah.
I mean, to a degree, like I do like I wouldn't like being pushed like this on some of my greatest phobias. On the other hand, it's like I don't know, some people shouldn't be fully coddled and like it's good to be pushed. Like a good relationship, you do need to be pushed. Not all the way out of a Ferris wheel, but
Yeah, Owen jumps out and then Abby thinks that he died. And so she jumps after him.
yeah,
Rude. Not
exposure
into it.
therapy is
Yeah.
not the exact way to have a good, healthy relationship, but like a healthy relationship would challenge each other to get over some of your issues. So
Owen's just trying to get Abby to trauma bond with him.
exactly.
Oh.
That's later.
If the Ferris wheel is a rockin', don't come a knockin'.
No, the boat.
Oh dear.
Oh man. I'm never gonna knock on that boat. All right, so we get into the aquarium and we see some mise en scène, like family drama of like some dad had gotten there with his kids and they, I think his wife had died and he had started to alienate his children. Am I getting this right?
Yeah, like I think a lot of it was he had a different way of surviving than his children wanted him to have. He was very much secluded in the aquarium, wanting to sit there.
Overly protective.
And his kids went out and ended up joining the Scars.
Yeah.
And so just a really strained relationship. Really awesome. It reminds me of the first game when you go into the tunnels and you start to put the story together with Ish. But it's not as, I guess, heartwarming. It's just more, it starts on a high and then just gets worse and worse and worse and worse and worse.
In typical part 2 fashion.
Yeah.
In typical part 2 fashion, it's way more of a bummer than the stuff you find in part 1.
Yeah.
But I agree with everything that's been said. I think it's a very cool story. I love to get the little notes and to piece together background stories that like you could kind of just ignore if you wanted to focus on the main story, but they would just make the world feel that much richer. So
you can ignore it up until you have to go get the boat key from Mr. Skeletor.
I guess that's true. There is a certain amount of it that's woven into the main narrative. But.
Yeah, and the reason that they do that is because at that point they really want you to at least engage with the part of the story where they deconstruct what happened there and how that parallels the Fireflies and their history. And what had happened was that these children were so protected and secluded, isolated, that they actually ended up resenting their father, and they saw hope and something else that was more inspiring in the Seraphites. So they ended up leaving their father for them, and their father had lost all of his meaning in his life because he had turned in on himself. He had become overprotective because he lost his wife, and he wanted to protect his children because that's all he had left. And he overcorrected so much that he ended up losing them anyway. So his entire life bottomed out, and he ends up taking his own life because of all of this. He and his children end up going to the Seraphites anyway, or not anyway. That's not where they were going to go in the first place, but you get what I'm saying.
I get the sense that that was maybe the straw that broke the camel's back, that his kids ran off to the Seraphites, because he's got that note from them saying like, hey, we ran away, and it's in his hand, like in the skeleton's hand.
It's like, it's your fault. And
yeah, I definitely get the sense that he like, yeah, it's your fault. We hate you. They ran away to the Seraphites, and then he was like, well, I've got nothing to live for anymore. And so
they also take the moment to deconstruct what the Fireflies meant to them. And we then are revealed that Owen still thinks fondly of the Fireflies. That was his family. It's where he had meaning.
He
And well,
sorry, keep going.
and we see that since that time that Abby has actually gone in the opposite direction. Well, she at least says, I don't know if this is actually how she feels, right? She says if she finds out that the Fireflies are in San Diego, she would, or is it San Diego? Is it
Santa Barbara?
Santa Barbara? That's
Santa
it.
Barbara.
If they're in Santa Barbara, she'd go the opposite direction. That's how she says it, right? I don't know if she actually thinks that. Maybe to some degree that's how she's thinking. I think what she's really saying is like, uh, her home is now with the wolves, and that's her community. I don't know if it's so much I'm like I'm anti-Firefly as like I need Owen, I need you to drop this because I don't want you to leave. And so she's trying to put up a wall between Owen and the Fireflies and is trying these stupid emojis keep popping up on my screen. But yeah, she's just trying to come up with like a defense mechanism so that Owen doesn't leave. She's trying to protect she's trying to put up a barrier because she wants Owen to stay in her life.
Yeah, I hadn't considered that angle before. I like that thought process. I always just kind of read it as like Abby is kind of done believing in saving the world because she believed in that and she lost her dad and a lot of people that she cared about with the Fireflies. And so now with the wolves don't believe in saving the world as far as I can tell. They believe in forming a community and making do and kind of, you know, fighting this war against the Seraphites, but they, you know, they're not looking for a cure. They're not trying to save everybody. But and so I think that kind of reflects, at least that's how I read that, is that Abby's like, I'm done trying to save the world. I'm just going to find a home and be a part of that community.
Yeah, I get the sense that Abby's thoughts to the Fireflies are like, fool me once, I lost my dad. Fool me twice, strike three.
Yeah.
You know, type of
Gosh, someone's dad dies one time and then all of a sudden.
But I think that's why she says she'd run the opposite direction. I think she, in some aspect, blames the Fireflies for what happened to her dad, which I think is just. You know, I don't think it's just Joel's fault, but I think the Fireflies played a role in it and just putting him in a precarious situation, and Marlene doing the worst possible job with Joel that she possibly could do.
The Fireflies definitely played a role in it because Marlene only sent one person to escort Joel out of the building. It is all her fault. She killed Abby's dad.
You got this all wrong. He literally created this entire situation himself. He was the most radicalized member of the Fireflies, and he was the one that convinced Marlene to murder Ellie. So he created this situation wherein all the Fireflies were murdered. And so he was radicalized. He was the ideologue.
Go tell Joel the worst news you could possibly tell Joel. And oh yeah, only send one guy after him to escort him out.
That was where her poor judgment kicked in. But he was still the one that instigated this entire situation.
Okay, so he's the man,
and he attacked Shan with
gasoline.
If you give us enough time, we can victim blame and justify anything. Like we'll talk circles and make anything sound like the right decision.
It really comes down to Abby's dad because he pulled a scalpel on Shan.
Yeah, it's all his fault. Yeah.
One of the pointy ones.
If he didn't want to die, he shouldn't have pulled out a scalpel. Everybody knows that.
It came down to that. Poor choices.
Let's see if I remember this dialogue correctly. Also in this scene, we also see Owen and Abby talking about how the Fireflies were radical and similar to the Seraphites, and Abby's like, don't talk that way. That like we were just naive. Like we weren't crazy. We were naive. It's like, okay, well then, like, how do you know the Seraphites are actually crazy and not naive, or at least the kids, right? Like they were kids. And how do you not have compassion for the kids?
Well, I think we see that later on when Abby meets up with Lev and I can't
Yara.
remember
Yeah.
Yara, because I think there's almost this immediate connection there. She's like, oh, I was in your shoes not too long ago, part of an extreme group, because that's what I was just brought into by my parents.
I'm excited to talk about that when we get to it, because I have some questions that I need help. I want to get y'all's take on. So
yeah, I think I'm gonna try harder to like understand the Seraphites this time. Like they're definitely a little crazy. I'm not gonna completely give them a blanket pardon.
100% sane people don't disembowel other people while they're still alive. That's not
or give themselves like a Glasgow smile. I mean, that's a little crazy. Self-mutilation.
That being said, every single religion is a little bit crazy, and I'm going to try a little bit to have some compassion here. But not every religion is disemboweling people, so this is an
really
extra
only
level.
just a few of them. Yeah, there's just
it's not no disemboweling.
It's not no disemboweling, just a little bit, you know.
Yeah,
it's just a flesh wound.
Yeah.
Before we move on from the aquarium, can we talk about the sound design in the aquarium?
Yes, all the time,
balls
forever.
To the wall, amazing. Yeah, it feels like you're in an aquarium. Like headset and no headset, they do such an amazing job of I don't even know what you call it, just this weird muffled sound that all aquariums have because you're in this little tunnel, but then there's also this echo that goes through. It's just
it's just they've done such a good job of capturing how the sound waves react on different surfaces and in different spaces. I feel like we talk about this like every episode because it's absolutely brilliant. But yes, the aquarium in particular, because it's full of these like some of these big wide open empty spaces with really hard surfaces where the sound really bounces around and echoes. And then you go into these smaller tunnels where it's like there's one in particular where you're in kind of a glass tunnel and then a glass dome and there's water all around you. And that would stifle the way that the sound waves would bounce around because they hit the glass and some of them go through the glass and into the water and then disappear. And then some of them bounce back in sort of a muffled way. And they do such an awesome job of making it sound like that. It's incredible.
Right. The first time I had ever experienced this was like it was Spider-Man 1 or 2. It was the first time I had like the 3D audio headset for PlayStation, and there was like an aquarium scene where I go in it and I was like, oh, this is what 3D audio is. And I was just like, my senses were overwhelmed. I was like, oh, my spidey senses.
My spidey senses are tingling. All thanks to the Sony PlayStation 3D audio headset. You can buy them for $99.99. You get a link in the description. And
available on Amazon, Walmart, Target, and anywhere else you buy your electronics.
Please sponsor us. Yeah.
Looking behind me, I was like, the sound is everywhere.
Just like real life. I'm so glad that I purchased the Sony PlayStation 3D audio headset.
It's so good. Like they got like the hardness of the walls. They got like the sharpness of the sounds as they reverberate through, and then the cascade of the sound as it like comes back for like each subsequent layer of bouncing around the walls. Like I don't know how to describe it. I'm not a sound artist, but like it's truly just like fantastic artistry. It's really well done.
Yeah, I think sound design is a form of art. It's really easy, particularly in video games, to like, oh, I love the visuals and I love the story and all of this stuff. And sound design can sometimes be sort of an unsung art form in video games and in everything, but in this instance in video games, because that's what we're talking about. So sound design and sound designers, y'all are amazing. Keep doing it.
Speaking of sound, did you guys notice when you're walking into the big open area that there's the banjo theme that starts to play, which I thought was very interesting. That really stood out to me. It's like, oh, this is not just an Ellie thing. This is, just the introduction of the banjo there was really stood out to me. Again, not a sound guy, not a big
Yes, that one. Yeah.
Dueling banjos, right?
Yeah.
You were
Yeah.
going there.
Yeah,
This is like a
exactly.
deeply racist Southern soundtrack.
Yeah, that is what Seattle is known for.
It's what it's being
deep
evocative
Southern
of.
roots.
Fantastic
no,
song, though, by the way.
Yeah, I just thought it was really interesting. Of that for me really helped me, I guess, not sympathize with Abby, but this was the point where I'm like, oh, I might be Team Abby. I don't know why it did that to me, but it made her feel like, and this is going to sound so dumb, it made her feel like a main character in the game, where other playthroughs have been like, oh, I have to play as Abby. It made her feel more, I guess, concrete to the player, to myself. But I'd love to know you guys' thoughts on why the banjo theme in this instance.
The soundtrack was like Moe's in The Office. Welcome, children.
Welcome, children.
That was a really far reach, but that's just what went through my head at that time. So I went.
Or like Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, no, I agree. I think that I don't know if this moment was like what sold Abby for me. It was more of a gradual thing for me, but I really like that Abby and Ellie have really distinct musical motifs. Mm-hmm. And I guess they're not super distinct because the whole soundtrack has a very similar kind of a feel to it, which is good. I think it makes it feel cohesive. But if you listen for it, there are definitely deliberate differences between, the type of music that plays when you're playing as Ellie and the type when you're playing as Abby. And so I agree with Tucker. That was a roundabout way of saying that. I also like in this part where so you're in that, you go to this like domed area with Owen and you see, out in this either a really big tank or it's like in the ocean. I'm not exactly sure, but I think it's actually in the ocean because then a seal swims up. But they kind of share this moment and they are getting closer and then they share a kiss and you can see Abby kind of pushing Owen away. And I had in that moment a realization that they were drawing another parallel between Abby and Ellie. Is that Abby and Ellie were doing the same thing. Ellie has been pushing Dina away, not necessarily on purpose, but because she's looking for revenge from Abby. And you see a little bit of that when like her and Jesse split up in a previous episode that we talked about. You see that she's choosing this revenge over choosing her relationship. And you see Abby doing something similar where she's so consumed with this desire to find Joel and this kind of hate in her heart that she's not allowing herself to be with Owen, even though Owen very much wants to be with her.
Also in that scene, I don't know if you guys noticed, the haptic feedback is so subtle and amazing in these Aquarium flashbacks. So you get the haptic feedback during the kiss, you get the haptic feedback later on in the second Aquarium flashback where it's Christmas time and Abby is drinking a hot drink. It's just so immersive as you're just with headphones on, and the controller just gives a lot more tactility. Is that even a word?
Tacticality.
Yeah. Sure. Shan, give us a word.
Yeah, give us a word.
Tactileness. There it is.
Tactility. Gives more tactility to these scenes of just being way more immersive.
Oh, tactileness. I was right.
Oh, okay.
I'm so good at smushing prefixes and suffixes together.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't notice it in those specific instances, but the haptic feedback in some of the instances in this game is really cool. And the DualSense controller, really, if developers use that that switch, the haptic feedback and the adaptive triggers, they can do a lot of really cool things with that. So I really love when developers take advantage of those features and let you kind of get that extra level of immersion through the controller.
Yeah. I don't think this was part of the PS4 version. Just because I don't think they had.
Well, no, because they didn't have the haptic feedback. It just was a rumble.
Yeah. Okay, I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. Like, I couldn't remember any of this, but I've only ever played this game on the PS4.
Oh yeah.
So this is
wow.
making more sense. I'm like, I have
You-
nothing to contribute here.
You got to get that DualSense controller. You can buy them on Amazon and Walmart. There's link in the description.
It's a shell for a nameless for these corporations that will never give them a kickback.
You don't know. Let
Well,
me dream.
I know, Mr.
I've got a
Sony. He
PS5
loves
now.
us.
I've got a PS5 now sitting next to my PS4, but it's a matter of figuring out how to transfer the data over, and I haven't gotten around to it. Okay, and I don't want to I don't want to play the game again without all my weapon upgrades. So I haven't gotten around to playing this on the PS5 yet.
Well, you could transfer your save from the PS. Oh wait,
Yeah, that's what I did. It's super easy.
Yeah, I transferred it.
Yeah, no. I know it's possible. It's a matter of just another thing on my to-do list.
All right, so you continue to the aquarium. You get to this kiss scene. You see these seals. It's deeply romantic.
Everyone knows seals are super romantic.
I was gonna say
Also-
I would kiss Abby, but I don't. She's not my type. Maybe
yeah.
Owen. It's just not really.
Shan would kiss Owen.
Some seals have spots.
She's
Abby
also not my
seems
type.
definitely your type because she's blonde and taller than you.
Tall.
That's your tall. That's your
I'm
type.
not into thick women.
That's your MO.
It's not my thing. She's cool though. I don't know. She's murderous. She's vengeful. She
I like her
grows
as
a
a
heart by
friend.
the end. Yeah, I'd friend zone her pretty fast.
Oof.
I don't know. I'm not after a vengeful type.
You couldn't get away with a lot. Yeah.
Thick arms,
Also, Shan pumped a lot of bullets into her dad, so that causes an awkward situation.
I
It's a
didn't
whole
bring
thing.
that up right away.
Oh, you'd wait to get to know her first.
It's like a date 3 conversation.
Yeah. It's a date 3 conversation.
Speaking of which, is there really any girl in The Last of Us 1 and 2 that would be on my list? I don't know. Marlene sucks.
Are you really doing smash or pass with the cast of The Last of Us? Is that what's happening right now?
Ellie
Yes.
is just not even interested,
playing-
obviously. So
you're
I
playing
have
for
to just
different
rule that
teams.
out. That's interesting. Let's not do this right now.
Shan's turning really red. I don't know
This will be a
why.
nice
Yeah.
Mel
short smash
is
and
also a
pass,
hard
Last of
pass,
Us.
by the way. Hard pass
Yeah.
on Mel.
That's what we should do. We're gonna do a whole extra episode of The Last of Us smash or pass.
Playing
Yeah.
Smash or
Well, I have to respect this, right? Because most games are just give you just solid 10s out of 10s, and it's like Final Fantasy, right? Where it's there's an audience for that, and
They're all beautiful anime people. Yep.
if you want to make your genre about that, that's fine. Go all in, and your audience will follow. But this game, it's you know what? These are some people that just look like real people, and I'm not interested in any of them. That's fine too.
We now just lost all of our weeb subscribers. because
Yeah. Shan said mean things about Final Fantasy. I'm not listening anymore.
I like them too. I just think different audience.
Shan likes beautiful anime people. You heard it here first.
Well, he does play a lot of Resident Evil, and those remakes, they're all beautiful
Those are
people.
the most beautiful models, I think, in almost any game I've ever seen.
You just
And
look at
I-
them.
because
Tell
they're
me,
so busty.
Yeah.
tell me you don't get lost in Leon Kennedy's eyes.
I
Okay?
absolutely do.
I love that man. Smash.
Ashley and Claire and Jill, all 3 of them, amazing. Keep doing what you're doing, Capcom.
Capcom's
10s out
kind
of
of on a
10s.
roll right now. They're just cranking out good stuff
Absolutely.
lately. Yeah.
Oh.
Anyways, yeah.
Wow. We're still 5 minutes into this section of walking into the aquarium, right?
We might be
And
really
having a
bad at this, you guys.
conversation?
Yeah.
All right, so let's kind of rush through this, right? So you're in the aquarium, you see the seals, and Owen just goes for it, right? He's like, "Oh, I set this up really well. I lowered her defenses. I I got her scared on the Ferris wheel. She's emotionally vulnerable.
It sounds like the Dennis system.
Yeah, he
He dennised her
Owened
hard.
The Owen system now.
This guy's a sociopath, but it
Friggin'
worked.
Owen. Yeah.
I'm impressed. I took down some notes as I was going. I literally did. They're right here on my phone. So
for your next date.
yeah, exactly. My wife is going to be so impressed.
First you neg her. You know, I like your hair, but it'd look better if you were wearing a better dress. Yeah.
It's like, why? Do men actually do that? Well, men with wives don't. And all right, so I'm trying to remember how this even goes. He then does he just go for it, and then she pulls away, and she's like, she just kind of like goes immediately off into thinking about or talking about can still go back to training. I want to go back and train, and I mean, question obviously, like they're kissing. Things are amorous, very steamy. You can see that the glass that is starting to fog up. You can't even see the seals anymore. Why is she thinking about training right now?
I think she is so fixated on Joel at this whole time of like, I need to find Joel. This is my only thought I ever have. And so anything, it all just goes back to finding him and training.
Well, she really doesn't want to miss out. Yeah. She really doesn't want to miss out on arm day. She's gotta
go work out.
Yeah, she wants to get very swole. She hasn't done that quite yet as much, so she's still working on it.
She's medium swole. Yeah. I wondered, it was like, why doesn't she want to be with Owen? They're very clearly both into each other, and it's like, why is wanting revenge on Joel preventing her from being with Owen? That's something that I like had kind of a hard time thinking about. And then while we were talking just now, I was thinking that, you know, she understands that this journey to go find Joel might be a one-way trip. And so I wonder if she's just trying to detach herself from those kinds of attachments so that if she doesn't come back, then that's, you know, then hasn't created this horrible experience for Owen where, you know, they were in a relationship and then she dies or whatever. So
that could be it. I think she's so thick and so swole that she's expecting to dominate this man. I don't think she thinks she's getting out of there dead. But I do think it's like I can't miss a single day of training because I am going to perfect this kill. So that's part of it. And so Owen is a distraction. If I get into a relationship, I'm missing half of my arm days. I'm missing my leg days. I might be able to hit core every once in a while. Like,
I mean, that's a fair point.
This is very important
that.
to her.
Yeah.
She would never be as thick as she is a few years from now. And we see the results. She's drinking fight milk. She's put on,
eating those burritos.
Exactly. Like, I've never seen a woman that is capable of what she's done. And so taking Owen out of the equation was clearly the right call for the goals that she set for herself.
And just in general, because he's a turd.
Friggin' Owen.
Yeah.
Post Firefly bully. Yeah.
I feel bad for Owen. I still like him. He's got his weaknesses, but I don't see them being any disproportionately worse than my own flaws. And that's why I am more forgiving for him. But maybe I have more flaws and I'm just kind of revealing that by sympathizing with him right now, and y'all are better than me. That's too bad.
That's probably what it is. Tucker and I are both super cool people. We're all better than Shan. Yeah.
And so like I do think Owen plans this whole aquarium trip because he's had a full year after Salt Lake City. He's been distant from Abby ever since. And he knows, okay, I have to go all out one day. Like, I have to completely take down her defenses and romance her because she has been putting up those walls for one full year. And and I just have to pull out all the stops because she's giving me nothing, and she's only thinking about Joel. And so if I distract her enough, maybe I can get her to let me make a move, and it fails. And so he already knows that she's thinking about Joel, uh, but he he's still devastated when she says it because it's like, oh, please don't be what I think it's going to be. And it's Joel. Here we go again. And so it's like, he don't feel bad. He already knew this was going to happen. And what can I do to help? And we can still make training. Like he's like, I've been through this before. I knew this was going to happen. Give me a minute. I thought I almost had you. I'll catch up with you. And she feels bad. She's like, it's just like, you knew this was going to happen. Why did you make another move? I feel like I went through this in high school. I feel like I went through this in college. Why did I keep going after the girl who turned me down 10 times? This hurts. I think that's what it is. That's why I keep empathizing with this turd, right? Because I was a turd.
Well, and I mean, I don't know about the rest of us, but I had similar situations. Like there,
Yeah,
you know,
you were the turd. I remember that.
Yeah, there was a girl I dated, and I kept trying to make things work with her, and she kept not being as nearly as interested in me as I was in her, and that sucks. And so that part of me really sympathizes with Owen, where you're trying to woo a girl that does not want to be wooed by you, and you just keep trying anyways. And it's like, and then you look back and you're like, that was so dumb. Why did I do that? So I get that part of it. That part does suck for Owen.
The moment Owen gets blue balled, I was like, okay, I get this guy. All right. Well, then we go back to the future. Um, uh, just like Michael J. Fox.
Yep.
And we are up with Manny again, and he takes us out of the stadium, and we go down into hostile territory. Now, I generally dread this section, and this is the most fun I've ever had with it, even on Grounded Plus. And I've already alluded to it in a previous episode. It's because I got to bum rush some sections because I've been playing this game completely differently, and I'm having a lot of fun with it. How about y'all?
This part is awesome. I've always really, I mean, it's really difficult, but I enjoy like the whole, you're coming out of the city and then you just immediately get ambushed. It makes you feel like unsafe. It makes the stadium feel less safe because this is like a safe place, but then you go out and the scars are not far outside of that area, and they just get attacked. Your car crashes and you're kind of pinned down and you have to fight off a bunch of scars without really being able to flank or maneuver very much. It's a really tense, really fun gameplay situation.
Oh, and even before you get out into like Seraphite territory, you have like the shots, so you can get the shotgun, right? Mm-hmm. I love that little area. I just like a little tight designed area to jump around and maneuver and take down some clickers. I just always have a lot of fun there, and when you know where everyone is, then you can plan it accordingly and throw bottles or whatever, and just like, I don't know, it's fun, it's tight, it's a little puzzle room. And let's see, and then you get a lot of like lore for the Seraphites that are just scattered really tightly in this area. So that's really cool.
Yeah, you find this like shrine almost with a bunch of notes to their prophet of things that they're asking, like prayers almost. It's very weird.
You open the back of the truck and you're like, oh, the Seraphites are kind of creepy, right? Because you get like, you're like, oh, they're that kind of religion. This is kind of weird, right? Mm-hmm. Like adorned with like deeply religious symbology and creepiness, like, and you're like, it reminded me of going to Europe and going to a Catholic church. You're like, oh, okay, culture shock. It's just like, it's a normal thing, right? It's normal to people that experience it and are a part of it. But if you've never been a part of it, you're like, oh, I'm not used to this kind of density of religious paraphernalia. This is uncomfortable to me. You know what I'm talking about? Have y'all been
I
to Europe?
I haven't been to
No.
Europe, but I know what you mean, where you're in a like thrust into an environment with a lot of religious symbology or things that are unfamiliar to you, and there's a level of like, I don't know if discomfort is the right word, but it's like it's just not familiar to you. And so I think that the point you're trying to make, I get what you're trying to say here, is that feeling of unfamiliarity and slight discomfort, and it's like cranked up to 11 with the scars, because there's that level of like religious symbology, but then it's also coupled with like horrific violence and crazy ideologies. And so
Yeah, it's like you see this like candle setup, you see these like prayers on the side of this van or car or truck, whatever it is. But then in the back of your mind is like, oh yeah, I remember being Ellie and seeing these three people strung up by their limbs and disemboweled in the TV station. And so there's this like, oh, they're trying to be good, but there's also this super violent, crazy side. And it's just that balance is unsettling, because it's like what's going to set him off from being here I'm praying to hey I'm disemboweling somebody, because that's got to be a pretty quick switch for both of those to be true in this one group's religion.
And to be fair, it's like I've grown up religious and I've had moments of culture shock in my own religion. It's like, what the heck am I looking at? Just like
was it the disemboweling?
It wasn't the disemboweling.
You always get a little squeamish when you perform your first disemboweling, and then after that they're not so bad. Yeah.
All right. Well, this is going off the rails. All right. So we then like go into this another one of my favorite like designed areas, but like it gives me a lot of anxiety in this area where like you have this large open field with large buildings surrounding it, and you have a sharpshooter on the outset, and you're in this area for like 45 minutes, I swear, because like Seraphites are everywhere, and they have the high ground, and they have very keen eyes. I don't know. Is that carotene? Are they eating their carrots?
They strictly live off of diet of carrots and LASIK surgery.
Yeah. Carrots and LASIK surgery, the two big brand deals for the Seraphites.
The one old world machinery that they use.
Yeah.
This section was really fun this time around for me because I knew a little bit more what to expect. And so I immediately got over to, there's a shop in the corner where you can be prone and use your rifle and take out some of these people that are up high, like the sharpshooter. So I made sure I updated my rifle with the scope before I got to this area. So I was very prepared for it. Because I remember the first time playing it through, I think Shan, you were watching me play, and I was just pinned down in this corner for like an hour and a half. just couldn't figure out what to do because they were just, anytime I moved, I got shot. And so this time I was very prepared for it. So I actually had a really fun time with this area, just trying out different points of, kind of hunkering down and do the, bring them to me, kill them, let them
the murder conga line. Yeah.
And then I tried this strategy where I ran up where there's still some people on that high ground, but I got really close to the edge of it and did some body dropping there in the tall weeds. And that was really freeing, just to not have this sharpshooter always on top of you.
All right, so do you go right or do you go left when you get to this area?
I go right through the building and then have to just do just a crawl prone out there, taking cover as you go.
If you go right, you have to go pretty fast because you have two people coming through that building, and you have to get around there's like some
like counters and like
counters, some counters that you have to get behind before they spot you. So you have to go very fast. Otherwise, you go left, you have some time, but then like you have to get up on like the second floor, and then you have to like be very, very patient, and you have to just sit there for like 30 minutes and just do body drop after body drop after body drop. It gets pretty exhausting. Or you could just like reveal your position and just like kill, jump into the grass, and just like wait for them to have no idea where you are, even though you jumped into the grass right.
What was that noise? Yeah. I'm going to go directly towards it.
That is a way to shortcut stealth in the body drop system. So I like going right and left, but this is the first time that I went right, and then I ran past those two people. I've never run past them all the way. Then I sniped the sharpshooter, and then I ran straight up the building and past it. He's the only person I killed, and I got past this. I got hit twice, but I got through, and I healed myself. And I cleared this section in like 4 minutes. It was a record, and it was amazing.
Oh my goodness!
She's like, "Oh, I can just run."
Oh,
yeah.
I can run.
I was gonna say, all together now, Shan realized he could just leave. Yeah.
Every section of this game is like that. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Shan's not even really playing the game. He's just leaving. Yeah.
This is how a real human would play this game, though. It's like, you're not going to be able to kill 1,000 people. You would selectively kill people and then run for your effing life.
Mm-hmm.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
So this is the most realistic I've ever played. Grounded Plus is human setting. Egg on your face.
We're all just gobsmacked and dumbstruck by Shan's flawless logic. Yeah.
Anything else you want to say about this beautiful section?
It's a really fun part to play through. Yeah.
You do hear some like barks and like other dialogue from Seraphites about, like, as you're getting into this section, you hear them talking about their ideology and what they want to accomplish with taking over, or like clearing out the wolves and everything, what their goals are. So I thought that was fun and interesting, a great way to give some exposition. And ultimately, it sounds like what the Seraphites' religion is based on is the idea of clearing out the old world and restoring it to the organic, natural world, because the old world is corrupted and it has corrupted mankind as well. And if we can get back to the organic, real world, then humanity will be purified. And so some of their rituals, like guiding people and returning them to the earth, is all part of that system of cleansing and restoring. And it's creepy, but like it's ideologically pure.
It's like shopping at Whole Foods.
Yeah, it's creepy, but ideologically pure. Whole Foods and Seraphites, same thing. Yeah. I have a question for you guys about this, because so I agree with you. I think that's the Seraphites mission, and specifically once you meet up with some Seraphites later, you meet up with Lev, and I guess they're ex-Seraphites, but you meet up with Lev and Yara later, and you get into a building and you're starting to loot some things. I'm jumping the gun a little bit because it feeds into my question, but you're starting to loot some things. Abby says, grab what you can, and they go, oh, that's from the old world. And so they don't take stuff from the old world. But the Seraphites definitely use guns in combat encounters. Like, someone explain that to me. Is there a detail I missed, or is that just to serve a gameplay function, or do guns not count as old world tech as long as you put them together yourself? Like,
I mean, I think
why is it okay for Seraphites to use guns but not other old world tech?
Necessary evil of like, this is,
I don't, but they're these religious zealots. Are they willing to compromise that for convenience?
Hypocrisy is paramount to religious zelosity.
Zelosity. That's my new favorite made up word.
Because it is. I mean, any religious group that is very zealous, there's a level of hypocrisy that exists to where there has to be some
that's fair
gymnastics that jump around. Be like, oh yes, that's a core part of our beliefs. But in this case, it doesn't really count.
You know, I wonder if there are like a certain level of Seraphite in their faith or whatever. You get to a certain level, and then it's okay for you to use guns in defense of your land or whatever.
Under, you can use guns.
Right?
4 and above.
I don't know. Maybe I'm trying to make it make sense. It makes no sense. I'm trying to make it make sense.
The Tom Cruise level where like anything goes.
Yeah.
This is like when people are like, oh, LDS people can't drink coffee or tea, but they can drink soda and energy drinks, and I'm like, don't ask questions. Like, just it's fine. Don't worry about it. Let us have our thing.
Level 1,
Don't
2,
ask,
or 3,
don't tell.
it's fine.
Yeah, and it's like, yeah, just let me have my thing. Stop asking questions. So I think it's that same thing.
Was important.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, well, technically, but it's fine.
Get logic all the way out of this conversation. I don't want to have it. Caffeine wasn't the important part. It was the hotness of the liquid. And I'm also going to drink my hot chocolate because it was the caffeine that mattered.
Exactly.
So these conversations with me.
Yeah.
So basically, there's
gymnastics you have to do.
There's no satisfactory answer to my question, it sounds like, is that the Seraphites don't believe in old world tech, except, oh, yes, Shan, let's hear it. I want to know. Like, I'm not...
They still primarily choose weaponry like bows and arrows. They still prefer things that are more traditional, but like the things that they hate that are old world are more like technology, like computers and tech like that. Guns aren't. They don't have chips. They don't have like complex gadgetry. And if you still think that's like an exception that is illogical, I would say that they are at war, and survival is an exception that is if guns is the one exception that they make so that they can survive, I would allow it.
See, and I don't know that I'm on board with the chips thing, but I get the whole like they're at war, the survival is most important kind of thing, because they like even like modern day clothes, the Seraphites, it seems like they all like they make their own clothes. They're all pretty homemade. And that doesn't have anything to do with computer chips and stuff. And so like I said, I think that the idea that makes the most sense to me is the idea of like a necessary evil. They're at war, they have to use guns or they will die. Like
I oversimplified it with computer gadgetry, but I like guns predate, like, we've had guns since what, 1700s?
Well, they don't predate clothes, and the Seraphites make their own clothes.
Yeah, but like guns have existed for so many hundreds of years that it feels like it exists within the same time frame, or it exists in the same.
It's old worldy enough. They're using muskets.
They're going Wild West. They're not going all the way back. They're going Wild West. Yeah. Okay. I can get on board.
Ronald Reagan
with that.
was the cutoff. So Ronald Reagan, when he came in with the Reaganomics, that's what started the new
They're
world.
going back to a pre-Reagan world. Yeah.
They're not living in huts. They're still living in log cabins. So anything pre-log cabin, which includes guns,
okay.
is
all right.
A-okay.
All right. That's
just
old
was world.
Listen, I should know better than to question the Druck, which is what I affectionately call Neil Druckmann. We're pals, me and him. So, yeah.
Actually, he's not German at all. He's Israeli.
All right. Anyways, I'm done with my tangent now. We can move on to the next thing.
Then we also, like, after scaling this building, we get into another area where once again we have a slanted building, so we're taking away the advantage of a horizontal axis. So that's really fun. This area gets really frustrating because there's so many vantage points where they can spot you. So it's really hard to find one spot where
There's lots of little hidey holes too, popping out of everywhere.
Like the very spot where you like start, there are people that start coming at you, and it's like, I don't know where to go, because if I go behind this like wall that's right in front of me, well then people can like, if I stay there too long, people are going to be able to see me from the wall, from that like building across the way. So it's like, you can't like the spot that you start, you can't stay there for more than 10 seconds or you'll get spotted. But you also like, there's nowhere to go. So you just have to be very fast, very specific, and there's like nowhere to stealth in this entire spot. This spot is very tense.
But can you just leave? Oh, well, there goes Shan's method.
I attempted this, and it was, I got just mowed down so fast.
So many times.
Yeah.
I tried a few times.
There's a couple of those big hammer-wielding bad guys in there too, right? The ones with like the heavy melee enemies, yeah.
So I had to do the body drop. That's what I ended up with. There's one good spot for a body drop. It's on the first floor, kitty corner to where you start. It's a body drop corner, and I can get about 8 or so people there.
Not a bad body drop.
What's that body doing over there? Okay, go check it out.
Oh,
and then
I
you
better
just
go
like
investigate it. Yeah.
And then they go one way, you go the other, and you drop, and you start all over.
Never stops being hilarious to me. How they're like, "What's this pile of 10 bodies? I'd better go check it out." Yeah.
Why are you laying on the ground like that?
Oh no! I am so surprised by my own demise. What a shocking revelation.
There's nothing really else in this section, I believe, right?
We're before we get captured by the Seraphites, right? Or is this at the end of this section is where it happens?
You then like jump out of this area and like one of those big 8 Seraphites grabs you and knocks you out. Yeah.
Yeah, well, you kind
and
of
then
go
you
Mike
have
Tyson
another flashback.
Yeah, because you bite their ear off.
Oh yeah, they like wrestle around a little bit. And Abby bites her friggin' ear off. She Mike Tyson's him, and then gets popped in the head.
Have you ever watched that clip? By the way, it's incredible.
Yeah, it's terrifying. Mike Tyson is like half bear. I'm pretty sure he's not all the way human. He's a terrifying individual.
Well, we were kids when it happened, so like I hadn't seen it live, and I had only heard stories of it for years. I finally watched it a couple of years ago. It's incredible. He doesn't. I always imagined the whole ear coming off. It's not that,
No,
but like
it's a tip.
It's just the tip, but like
it's more than it should have been.
It's ferocious. It's incredible. Like that guy's. I mean, his legacy has been tarnished recently because of Logan Paul, but.
Is it because a 20-year-old kid beat up a grandpa? Like
no, Jake Paul, not Logan Paul.
Yeah.
Wrong
idiots.
Paul. Yeah. Doesn't really matter, but
I was really, really hoping for Mike Tyson to just walk out there and like punch that kid in the face once, and for him to just drop. I
stupid for believing that.
I felt like it wasn't going to happen, but it's what I really wanted to happen.
So I've watched a bunch of breakdowns of this. There are plenty of opportunities where Mike Tyson had to pull a punch where Jake Paul is just wide open and just asking for it. And so I think it's one of those where Mike Tyson's like, I'm getting paid a lot of money to be here. I can't just demolish this child.
I didn't conspiracy theory. I think he's just old and doesn't have the reflexes.
I didn't watch the whole fight. I didn't watch the whole fight. I watched some of it, but there's still parts where it's like, you don't seem like you're like it seems like you're pulling your punches is the right word, that he's or like not taking openings, like, and I mean he's like 60 something, so maybe he's just old and
58,
but it seemed like there was parts where it was like seems like you're holding back a little bit.
Yeah, Mike Tyson's just life is insane. Highly recommend just researching it. Like there was a point in his heyday where he wanted to pay a zookeeper to let him get into a cage with a silverback gorilla to fight it.
What?
I think I've heard
Did
about
he
this.
succeed?
That's a terrible idea.
But
I'm Mike Tyson.
But Mike Tyson's just like his boxing career. He is just a complete animal inside the ring, and just like is not Mike Tyson in there. He's just a beast. And so it's just go research his life and watch videos.
Watch some of his old fights, and like he's like watching an animal.
Monster. Yeah.
It's like watching a caged animal. It's something else. He's a force.
Hey Ryan.
Mike Tyson, sponsor this.
Hey Ryan, it's Mike Tyson.
It's Mike Tyson. I'm your girlfriend, and I'm mad.
Speaking of the fight, did you guys love the butt shot with his interview?
That was one of the funniest things I've seen all year.
Yeah,
I missed that. The what?
So he's like in this. He's in this interview with his son. I think.
Better.
Okay. All right, script it for us, Shan.
You couldn't have scripted it better because it was so funny. Go for it.
He's like doing this interview on camera, I think, with his son, and then he's like, "Love you, son," and then he like turns around and walks back to like finish getting rid of the fight, and he's like basically just wearing assless chaps, and so you just see his just butt cheeks, and it is just hilarious, and it takes everybody by off guard. The announcers, the narrators are just like, "What?"
It's so serious. It's so heartfelt, and then he just turns around and his butt is naked for the screen. It's just like is this a comedy? It felt like straight out of like a Michael Schur SNL type comedy, and I was there for it. I was
He's my
laughing
favorite. I
so
love that.
hard.
I'm gonna Google that the moment we're done with this.
It's perfect.
Oh my goodness.
Anyways, so Abby Mike Tyson's that lady's ear off, and then
Biting,
and then gets not the butt part, and then gets hammered in the head and knocked unconscious.
And then we go straight to a flashback, right?
Yep.
4 months earlier, back at the aquarium, the infamous aquarium where anything can happen. It's like a black box of like romance and love and mystery and death and intrigue, and it's an incredible setting.
I think one of the reasons they chose the setting for this is because it's very easy to visually and tonally make the aquarium a lot of different things. And I've touched on this a lot before because I think it's so cool. When you're there as Abby and Owen, it's a bright and happy place that represents different things. And then when you're there as Ellie, it's dark and spooky and unsettling. And they can get those themes really just by changing the lighting and like the sound and the background music in this same environment. So I think that's one of the reasons why they use it so much, is because it's such a versatile location.
I love that too. I also love how every time you go back to the aquarium, there's like a new way to get into the aquarium, and then when you don't realize just how big it is either, because each time you come back to it with a flashback or in current day, there's different sections that you get to explore, and you don't realize like how many back rooms there are, and oh, look at this like little fort this kid made, look at this romantic spot, look at this, look at that. Like I just love how they keep adding to it that you don't expect to keep seeing more things with it.
No, I love that. Like normally it's just like blue and vivid and just delightful, but like nighttime desaturated blue, you just like feel lifeless and kind of like when Ellie gets there, it's you feel void of life, and
it's empty and cold.
Empty, that's it. That's the word I'm looking for. And then when you get there with Owen, is that this next section with Christmas and the lights are there? I mean, it's not even like a water-filled room section, but like the way that they're able to use those lights with the red and the volumetric of the lights and stuff, like just like the room just fills up with a warmth that I can't even like think of another game that made me feel that warmth of Christmas ever before. And all of these different emotions all in this, and it's all the lighting. It's incredible. I felt all of my emotions in this one setting.
I like that you touched on the usage of the color blue. Blue is again, like an aquarium, very versatile. It's a really versatile color. Blue, when paired with really darker colors, can be mysterious and kind of cold and empty. And then when paired with warmer colors like oranges and yellows, or even like a white, can feel very comforting and calming. A lot of like and I think we've talked about this in other episodes, but a lot of like banks and internet sites and things like that, to help you feel safe and comfortable, they use the color blue. So the aquarium during the daytime, when the light is bright, it makes you feel comfortable and invited and
happy
and happy, and especially paired with those Christmas lights, those other brighter colors. And then at nighttime, when those lights are off and it's dark, and that blue is paired with like the inky blackness of night, darkness, it becomes really unsettling and cold. And so just a really great understanding of color theory and utilizing that really, really well in this aquarium. It's excellent.
Mm-hmm.
I want to come back to Christmas. I was a little bit taken back by Christmas because there's this implication that either the Fireflies or Wolves celebrate Christmas in pre-outbreak fashion.
Yeah, where'd Owen get those lights even?
They were all born post I want to say post-pandemic, but that's not right. Post-outbreak. And so, where does this traditional Christmas come from? So I thought it was interesting. To me, I'm just taking it as a little bit of lore of like there's still this old world comforting aspect, traditions that are still woven into these larger communities, like the Fireflies, like the Wolves.
So we saw this like in the beginning of the game when we're Ellie and Dina and we're traveling around and we see this little note from a kid named Eric and
Little
they're
baby
talking
Eric.
and we're talking
That's
about
you.
Christmas. This kid clearly wasn't pre-apocalypse, and they're talking about Christmas because this father wanted to carry on the tradition. And like I asked the question, would you carry on tradition after society has collapsed? And I think I would do it. And I don't know if I don't know if you would do it uh, if it were just you, or if you would do it if you had a society. I think you would definitely do if you had a society. I don't know if you would do if it's just you. And I and and like I also keep bringing back like so much of the theme of this game is identity and culture and tradition because that's what keeps a society together is these these things that bring community together, which is holidays and tradition and food and all this stuff. And I think that's why the wolves or anyone have to have holidays. They have to have traditions because they brand a community and they give excuses to come together and to feel like a group. And that makes them feel united. And it allows the leaders of this community to uh, to drive them together because they all feel united and they can be told what to do and they're all there together. Like this is all very important to have a cohesive society. Like I've been noticing a lot lately. You look at a map of the United States, um, and Utah is like an outlier in all of them. It's always the least or the most of everything. And I started wondering, I was like, okay, that kind of checks out. It's like always the most sober, or it's the most safe, or it's the most whatever. And I was like, that it kind of sticks out a lot. And I was like, is it, and it's obviously religion because we have so much of it disproportionately to every state. And I don't, and then I thought, well, maybe it's not necessarily that we have religion so much as religion gives us community. And we are constantly talking to each other. We are constantly seeing each other face to face. We're constantly have excuses to be around each other. And that is so important to have cohesion, and that brings down our defenses. It makes us safer because we see each other as humans, and we're more civil towards each other. So I think tradition, I think holidays, you absolutely keep doing it. Post-apocalypse, you keep doing it. This is very important. It's not just because it's fun, it's because it's absolutely necessary to have a society.
Yeah, I definitely think that in places where, this post-apocalypse and this The Last of Us, they're able to come together and have a community. It affords them a certain level of luxury, I guess. Luxury is not the right word, but of safety, where they're not as focused on, moment to moment survival. And so they have the ability to, come together as a community and focus on, carrying on these traditions and having those things that were special to them when they were younger and passing that on to their kids. Where if you're like out with one parent and two kids and you're like in the wilderness and you're just trying to survive, you wouldn't be very focused on Christmas, right? And so, or maybe you would try a little bit to be like, hey, Merry Christmas. I'm sorry that I got you this tree branch. But I think particularly communities like Jackson or like the Wolves, they're able to celebrate those things a little bit because they have a society. They're not just single people trying to survive.
I think it's also the holiday itself. In a post-apocalyptic world, I'm sure a lot of people would cling on to religion and believing in God and, mercy and all that. So you have Christmas that is very religious for a lot of people. There's certain other holidays you might get rid of, like 4th of July. How are you going to celebrate that?
Well,
You
Christopher
can't.
Columbus Day, that's the first to go.
I was gonna say, I bet in the world of The Last of Us, they got rid of Halloween real quick. They're like, I'm tired because the pandemic, or not the pandemic, the outbreak happened right before Halloween, and so
No,
they're like,
And
I'm
it
tired of
was
all these
already-
Halloween decorations. We don't have to celebrate, or it's just Halloween year round, maybe.
no,
Yeah, now it's Halloween all the
it's
time.
Middlebrook. There's an elementary school you go through, and it's just riddled with Halloween decorations.
Yeah, the outbreak happened at the end of September, so the decorations were starting to come out, but yeah, there wasn't that many. And there's probably Christmas decorations already out, and this because it comes out so early in the year. But yeah, it's one of the holidays I'm sure people would cling onto and make a big deal out of, whereas other holidays I'm sure they're just like, who cares?
We
Take
don't
it or
need
leave
President's
it.
Day. Yeah. Arbor Day is gone. Who cares about trees?
So we're barely still talking about the aquarium.
Mhm.
But we're 4 months.
Flashback.
Yeah, 4 months earlier, we're in the aquarium. Let's kind of push this forward. So archery is set up in the aquarium. Owen has done this to flirt and have date nights with Mel. He's romanced her pretty hard. It's now, so this is 4 months earlier, and the other flashback was 1 year after Salt Lake. So this is what, like 2 years afterwards. He's moved on. He's found Mel. He's impregnated her. Uh, he's he hasn't really moved on, but he's physically moved on, right? And uh, Abby clearly still wants him, so he keeps pushing him to see like how much does he want me? Because I when I'm ready, I'm gonna get him back, and I'm a bad person, right? She's a bad person, but she's human too. Like I understand her weaknesses here.
She's keeping him on the back burner while she's like gonna go take care of this revenge thing. I'm gonna keep Owen on the back burner, and then as soon as I'm done with the revenge thing, I'll come back and I'll be like, "Yo, Owen, I'm
Yeah.
ready." And then he'll be like, "Bye, Mel." Yeah.
Women who do this, you're bad people.
Or men. Men might do it too, but probably
Yeah.
not as much.
No, we've all been on the hook, and we hated it.
It's a bad time.
It's a bad time. It messed with our heads.
Oh, I really love this part because there's just so many times throughout the two games where they let you do like the targeting system, but with different types of things. So at the beginning of this game, you had the snowball fight. In the first game, if you play the DLC, you get to play with the water guns. And I like how you get to play with a toy gun here. So I love how they let you do your usual mechanics, but with new devices that are just a little bit more unique and just kind of add some playfulness to the overall experience of the game and kind of relaxes you a bit. Shan and I really love all the flashbacks and the regular storytelling and how all of this is interwoven, especially in the second game, because like we both feel like it has, the upbeats and the downbeats at just the right time. You play these really intense sections. We were just talking about the part with the scars where you're trying to scale the building and, Tucker, you took an hour and a half to play that. That's really intense. And then you get to come to this flashback where it's a little bit more chill. You get a little bit of story and you get to play with a toy gun. And I think that's really fun how they kind of interwoven that together.
So I have a question for you guys. So playing as Abby, shooting the Nerf targets with Owen, how many targets did you hit?
Don't
Like
remember.
7 or 8. It was so bad.
Oh, I tied Owen on this one.
Noobs. I really was fully expecting to not. I was hoping that one of you would have a better score because now I feel like I set up a situation so I could brag, which was not what I was doing.
Way to pull a Shan there.
But yeah, I'm very cool. I think all the targets. I hit like 14 or 15. How many are there? I think that Owen's score is like 12, right?
Yeah, I thought it was 10. Maybe
I don't know.
12.
I beat Owen is all I remember. I don't remember exactly how many I got, but I got a couple more than Owen. So
there's a couple I couldn't find till the end. Like there's one like on the whale skeleton, like almost right above you where you get it, and that one was a little bit hard to. Yeah, I was bummed.
I didn't super care, but that's not the reason I failed. The reason I failed is because I wasn't that good.
He seems bad at this.
Yeah. All right. I like some of the dialogue here. Owen says, well, because like clearly, Abby's upset that Owen is so sweet to Mel, and Owen says, well, you could be pretty sweet too sometimes. And she says, you have a bad memory. And he says, selective memory. Now, I think Owen here is intimating that he's still open to her. He's just kind of like leaving the door open in a lot of ways, but Abby is suggesting like, okay, I'm kind of hurt that you're not being sweet to me and you're being sweet to her, but I think that's not being fair because
Also, that's
Owen
kind of
has been,
Abby's fault. Yeah.
yeah, he was sweet to her in so many ways. We were forgetting the very last time that they were at the aquarium, but uh, uh, yeah. So Owen then says you, uh, he says that Abby could be sweet too. Now she wasn't always all that sweet, but he's kind of just like he's romanticizing, kind of like a Michael Scott does, right? He's romanticizing the relationship because he wants to remember it better than it was. I think that's kind of what he's doing. He's being overly nice to Abby where he shouldn't be because he's with another girl. That's how I'm interpreting this communication right now, which is why I feel like he's kind of pulling her along, like, give me something and I'll give you something. That's what I'm getting out of this.
He's really testing the waters there. But I
Exactly.
think they've got a lot of good back and forth there where I agree. Owen, I think, is the selective memory is the right term, where he's trying to remember it better than it probably was at the time. But also, when you like shoot, I don't know what happens if you don't shoot all the targets, but if you shoot more targets than Owen, he's like, well, I'll put you on the scoreboard. And then Abby's like, okay, well, put me on the scoreboard. And he's like, I will, after you leave. Because it's very clear that Owen's like, if he writes Abby's name on the scoreboard, because right now the scoreboard, it's just Owen and Mel. And then if he writes Abby's name on there, the next time Mel comes back, she's going to see Abby's name and be like, what gives? Like,
That's not the relationship we're okay with.
why are you playing this fun game that the two of us do? Why are you playing it with Abby? Like, that's an us thing. And so, but then Abby just like pressures him and she's like, oh, I see. You're embarrassed to have me here. And Owen's like, no, no, no. She's like, you're worried what Mel will think. And he's like, no, fine, I'll do it. And then he writes her name on there. And Abby's like, huh. Like, clearly she's trying to put some wedge in between Owen and Mel. She's like, I know that just by being here, that will upset Mel. So put my name on the board. I'm not going to leave till you do it.
She also wants this. She's also challenging Owen to see where their relationship currently is and how open and receptive Owen is to her right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a really cool way. I love this scene because it was the same, I think, regardless of what score you get. Of just a really cool way to show that between Mel and Owen's relationship, Abby is the elephant in the room, regardless of timeline, because we see that later on as well, or I guess previously in the future, with uncomfortableness with Mel. But I just think it's a really, really clever way. Is you don't necessarily see Mel and Owen in the same room, but there's this tension that you can feel between Mel and Owen just because Abby is there in Owen's reaction to leaving a clue for Mel that Abby was there. Just, I don't know, just a really cool way to show that tension.
It's the like, oh, Mel's not going to like this kind of a thing. Yeah.
Also, Abby clearly wants to not only cause a wedge, but she clearly wants to annoy Mel. She wants to constantly be putting her thumb in Mel's eye to be like, I'm still better than you, and Owen still wants me, and I'm going to prove it every chance I get because you're nothing compared to me.
So
neener.
I know we called Angela Gale the Snail in our Silent Hill series, but I think Mel is the real Gale the Snail. She's
no,
it's
Mel the Snail.
Mel the Snail. We got to salt the snail.
There you go. If you say snail with a Utah accent, it works out. Mel the Snail. Yeah.
Mel the Snail.
Oi, oi, oi.
Oi, salt the snail. You don't want to salt the snail, but you have to salt it.
She makes you have to do it.
Yeah.
Oh man. Okay, I don't think really there is there any other like in selective dialogue down here. I think you just kind of like then go up to the loft.
I was gonna say there's some more interesting dialogue in the upper loft area that I want to talk about, but
Well, the
yeah.
loft is an incredible sequence. I love this area. So you get up there. I think one of the first things you can do is interact with a stocking, and she says, "I wish somebody." And he's like, "Oh, this is really cute," and he's like, so just being coquettish again. But I wish somebody loved me enough to make me a stocking. And he's like, "You don't deserve one. What, a stocking or somebody that loves me?" And I love that, like, in her head, that's immediately the association she makes is he says, "You don't deserve one." He obviously is thinking of "You don't deserve a stocking," but her brain immediately associates deserve with love because she has years of guilt of feeling like she doesn't deserve his love. And so I just love the psychology of understanding her character enough to know that that's how she would respond in this moment because of how she has been unreciprocating to his advances because of how she's been hung up on her dad's death. And so just him saying that with uh without giving the object of the sentence, she's like, well, and she knows he means a stocking, but her freely associating brain's like, well, you could be meaning me in that because you didn't give the object of the sentence. Like, and she found a fun way to make it a joke, but like, that's how her brain is thinking in this moment. Like, I just love how brilliantly that's written.
I agree. I think that Abby's character is so interesting that there's this level of like light self-deprecation, especially when she's with Owen, where they kind of poke fun at each other a little bit. But that hints at a much more serious way of thinking. And also in this moment, I was struck with like how frustrated Owen must have been by that comment where it's like, I wish someone loved me enough to make a stocking. And he's like, bitch, I tried. Like I loved it. That was me. Like I'm right here. I tried, and you said no multiple times. Like
Was bringing you to the seals not enough? I had to physically make you a stocking. I can't do everything for you.
that was the missing piece. All she needed was a stocking, and then Owen would have worked between them. Yeah.
Yeah, that wasn't it. All right, and I love how this escalates. He realizes that she's being flirtatious, and this catches him off guard. And he asks, "Why are you in such a good mood?" Because he's not used to her being so flirtatious. And this goes into like her being playful down while playing archery. He's like, "Okay, things are not adding up. She's never given me this many good things in a row. Why are you in a good mood?" "Oh, am I?" Again, being coquettish. Like, I love how this is escalating. He's like, "I kind of dig these vibes. Like, I miss this Abby. I haven't seen this since like her dad died."
And now,
Right?
oh, am I? I didn't realize I was being in a good mood. Yeah.
Now,
that was my Abby impression. Is really good, right?
Yeah.
Spot on.
Now, again, amazing writing here. Why does he immediately after she says, "Oh, am I?" Why does he immediately say, "Abby, you should blow off training tonight"?
Because he wants to be blown off.
Oh.
I mean, that's one way to put it. I mean, he sees an opening, right? She's in a good mood. It seems like she's finally about to be receptive, and he like sees that like layer of her being flirtatious, and she's reciprocating the things that she's given to him, and so he's like, maybe this time.
Yeah. What's training associated with?
Oh yeah, training is associated with her getting revenge, and so in Owen's eyes, if he can be like, if she blows off training, then that means that she's done with that, or she's willing to put that on the back burner for him.
Yeah, he's like, she's being flirtatious. Maybe it means that she's open to a relationship. If she's open to a relationship, then she's willing to blow off training. If she's willing to blow off training, if I can get her to say yes to this, it's proof that I have an opening. I can blow off Mel the snail, and I can go for it. Like, if I can get her to give me this evidence, then I am going for it. And that's why his brain goes from, why are you in a good mood, to, you should blow off training because I am about to make a move on you. I love the psychology of his character and the psychology of the writing. That is brilliant. But she's in a good mood because she knows where Joel is.
She knows where Tommy is.
Well, she knows where
Or
Tommy is.
Sorry,
Yeah.
my bad.
Yeah, geez, Shan, get it right.
You come to my podcast,
Yeah.
you get Tommy's name right, or Will Smith. Like, you get my wife's name out of your mouth. Yeah. Anyway, so pooch that delivery. So anyway, it's ironic. I love the irony here because the subversion is she's not happy because she's forgotten about Joel. She's happy because she has advanced the goal of finding Joel. And so, blue balls again. Owen he thinks that he's finally about to get what he wants, and it's only because he's about to not get what he wants.
It's like, actually, it's the opposite. Ha!
That is
gotcha.
Incredible. Like, his character is like coming to this like amazing, like energetic, climactic moment of like, I'm about to get everything I want, and I'm going the complete opposite direction. I'm about to murder somebody with Abby. Like, that hurts. And she's never been farther away from me. But that also puts him in a headspace of like, oh well, okay, well maybe if this is true, then I just have to commit a little bit longer. And if I take Tommy out, if I take out Joel, then maybe that is my final. Like, if I do that, then maybe I can have her.
Yeah, we call that friend zone rationalization, is when you're deep in the friend zone, you're just like, maybe if I just help her move one more time,
or
maybe if I just
one more person,
maybe if I help her kill Joel just this one time, I'll get out of the friend zone.
Yeah.
I love the line that she puts here, and I love the callback to it later on in day one, where she's like, "It's a lead. I have to see it through." I just love how simple that is. It's something small, but I have to do it. Like, there's this part in her where she can't say no to it. She can't let it go, and it's just a simple and just devastating to Owen in this moment of just like, sorry bro, I gotta go.
So I have a question that I want to ask you guys about this. So when she comes to Owen with this information, she's already gotten permission from Isaac, right? Because Isaac is like, he has to sign off on pretty much everything. And so I wonder if you guys have any thoughts on why Isaac would allow a big group of, some of his best, or at least better soldiers. Abby is probably one of his best soldiers. Why would he allow those people to go off on this search when maybe he'd want them here? Like, I have thoughts on this, but I wonder if you guys have thoughts on this. Why did Isaac sign off on this revenge mission for Abby?
Yeah, so, well, we see in this dialogue right after Owen deflects, right? And he says Isaac isn't going to let that many off base. And I don't know if he that's probably rooted in truth, but he's clearly deflecting. He doesn't want to go, but he's using Isaac as an excuse because Abby says he's already signed off on it, and he says bullshit, right? Like, there's no way. So he clearly kind of believed it, but he also just doesn't want to do it because he's kind of done with this Abby crusade because he doesn't want to be involved in that. But to your question, why would Isaac do it? He says, or Abby says, that it's because Isaac believes in justice, or who's more about justice than Isaac?
Mm-hmm. I don't buy it.
You think she's lying?
I do to a degree. I don't think that Abby's lying. I think that Isaac is. I kind of view Isaac as not exactly a cult leader, but cult leader adjacent. where he is a very charismatic person and he has a large group of people that follow him, and he sometimes might use those people for his own personal designs. And I think, this is just me, I think that Isaac understands that this is something that Abby is going to do no matter what. And he can either give her the go ahead, or he can say no. But if he says no, there's no chance of Abby coming back. But if he says yes, take a few people, then there's a chance that she'll come back, and it will increase her loyalty towards Isaac.
That's I think.
That was my thought process. Yeah, it's a power play.
I agree with the loyalty thing. Yeah.
Well, not even just loyalty. I think there's this selfish, if Abby's one of my better soldiers, if Owen's one of my better soldiers, we've established that because he puts them in charge of invading the Seraphite island late, during that whole sequence early on in the game, or early on in Seattle Day One. That it's, I need Abby to come back. She's going to go regardless. I'm going to give her all the resources that she needs to do this, so to make sure that she comes back so I can further my agenda.
You know what? This all adds up. Isaac already planned to invade and kill all the Seraphites, and later he enlists Abby to be at the head of it with Manny. And he has her. He has her loyalty. She's all the way committed. She doesn't even question it. Clearly his gambit on getting all of her friends on board to go kill Joel paid off. We already see how it's paid off. So he was smart. He got her loyalty, and giving her this carte blanche to take everybody and go kill Joel paid off. He knew exactly what he was doing.
100%. That's exactly how what I thought Isaac was doing as well. Because on a surface level, it seems crazy. It's like, why would he let all of those super important people go? But then once you understand Isaac's agenda and kind of what he wants as a character, it makes more sense for him to be like, to let her go, so that she'll come back, even more gung-ho and even more loyal to him.
Yeah, he acts like 4 months from now that he just had the idea to go invite the Seraphites. He already had that idea months ago, and he was waiting for her to get back to reveal that plan.
Yeah.
Like, this is textbook give and take. I mean, I don't want to necessarily paint Isaac in a bad light, because I don't think it's necessarily malicious. I think it's more so, if I need to get what I want, you have to get what you want.
Yeah, he's a tactician.
It's a very political move. And I think that's why Isaac is in the position that he's in, is because he understands that dynamic. Is I can't just force everybody to do my will. I have to give them something in return to get them on my side, to build that loyalty. So I think he's just a fantastic leader in that sense of just, it's not just charisma that's getting people, is they're getting what they want out of the wolves just as much as he's getting what he wants from members of the wolves.
Yeah, he's not strictly an authoritarian. If he were an authoritarian, he would just tell her
exactly.
That's
He'd say
shit.
no.
You just give her orders. I have already, thought it through. Like, I think out of all of the forms of society and government that we've seen post-apocalyptics in these two games, Jackson sounds, it appears the most superficially idyllic, but safety wise, I would be with the wolves. And Isaac, like, he seems a little crazy, but like, he's strong and he has a militaristic society. I would feel safe there and my needs would be met. And he still has some form of free will and autonomy in his society. Like, I get that society.
And I think, I want to go back to, it just hit me. I want to go back to why Abby would say she would run the opposite way of the Fireflies. I think that's part of the big thing, is like, the way the wolves govern and live is fundamentally very different than the Fireflies. The Fireflies were very much so, here's your orders, go do them. And there was nothing, they weren't getting anything back in return besides this good feeling that they were gonna, change.
It was the promise of a better world, but there was no immediate reward for their actions.
So the naivety, I think, makes a lot of sense. They joined because they were naive. They kept with the Fireflies because they were naive. Then their eyes were opened, and that's why Abby is like, no, I won't stay with the wolves because I understand the Fireflies bullshit now. But the wolves, you know, her bullshit meter is pretty low with the wolves because she is getting what she wants out of the wolves and is fine paying back into the wolf system.
Yeah, isn't it funny how like extremists always prey on the stupid people, like that's like their primary targets, and then they like make them extreme because their brains are like the mushiest. It's easy to radicalize and instill like ideologies in people with very plastic brains. I think that's why they're the victims. I don't know. Maybe this is a hot button topic, or maybe everybody thinks they're too smart and hard brained to be radicalized, but
it's probably the latter.
So maybe I'm not offending
I'm not
anybody
dumb, I'm
because
smart.
everybody thinks they're the smart ones who wouldn't be radicalized.
Yeah,
but
all of the dumb people are like, they're talking about, not talking about me.
I'm the smart one. I'm with stupid.
What's that? I forget. There's a comedian who's like, he's telling a bit. He's like, there's a dumb friend in every group, and if you're here with your group of friends and you're looking around like, we don't have a dumb friend, you're the dumb friend.
Well, then there's George Carlin, who's like, think of how stupid the average person is that you know. Now realize that half of the world is stupider than that person is. I botched it, but like brilliant, right? All right, so I wanted to ask, why don't you think Owen wants to go anymore on this journey with Joel? Because he's been blueballed so many times. He's already known that like I'm not getting Abby until then, and he's been willing to go and kill Joel to get her back. But like, why is he not willing to do it this time? It seems like because he's deflecting. He's like, Isaac wouldn't do this, whatever. He's using a lot of subterfuge to say, or subtext to say like, no, I don't want to do this. You're not going to get everybody. Isaac won't do it. He's basically saying, I don't want to do this. He's really speaking for himself, but he's trying to deflect it onto other people's motives. So he's really saying, I don't want to do it. So why doesn't he want to do it?
I think the reasons that I picked up on that felt that I kind of, what I think is that he is tired of being hurt by Abby, and he's maybe starting to put up a wall, and then also maybe a little bit of like, to your point earlier, it was so close that he could taste it. He almost had everything that he wanted with Abby. She was in a good mood. They had some back and forth. They were kind of flirting with each other, and then she drops a bomb and is like, I think I found Joel. We have to go kill him. And I think he's just desperately trying to get her back to the flirty moment before that, where it was like, no, we were almost there. Let's not do this. Let's not kill Joel. Let's just stay here and be in a relationship. Like, I think that he's just trying to shift the conversation back to where it was before that.
Well, I think Owen's moved on from that part of his life. He's ready to go on, where Abby is still stuck in the past. That for her to move on, she has to have this moment of justice with Joel for her to even consider moving on or moving past it. Where Owen, whatever beef he had with Joel, because I think all of them had some sort of beef with Joel at some point because he murdered everybody they knew.
Because he murdered a whole building of their family and friends.
Well, I guess Owen knew Abby's dad as well.
Yeah,
and they were semi-close, and so he's for, I guess, in a sense, forgiven Joel. Maybe not forgiven's a strong word.
He's moved on.
He's moved past it.
Yeah, he's moved on. He's realized it happened. It's done with. If I'm going to be happy, I gotta go. Like I can't live in the past anymore. And where Abby is just still stuck in the past. So I think there is part of this of I've been hurt so many times. I've been blueballed so many times. Like I gotta get back to this part where I was a little bit hopeful I was going to get everything I want. But then I think there's this part of like, I am so sick of this. Like we've been all I do is talk about Joel with you. Joel. That's all I ever hear.
Yeah. Well, we talk about my feelings for once, Abby.
Exactly. So I think there's part of this where he is almost just fed up of just like, I got to move on. Like I'm banging Mel, I want to get my boat fixed up and get out of here. Ideally I want you to be on that journey with me, Abby, but I think he's saying this is not going to happen.
You can still sail off into the sunset.
Yeah.
That boat still has a ticket with your name on it, but I don't know. They'll bang later, but they'll bang it out.
Spoilers.
Yeah, I think it's really that. It's like he was on board. He also was slighted by the Fireflies mishap, if you can call it that. And he just knew like, okay, if I kill Joel, then I can have Abby. And it's like, you know what? I have something that I can replace it with. It's not as good, but it's enough that I can let go. And it's better than this dynamic. And now that I know that it's this dynamic again, I would rather let go. And so I'm gonna deflect and I hope that I can get out of it because I'm done with this.
Yeah, Owen's okay with the great value version of Abby.
The dollar store knockoff.
Yeah, she's just a generic version, and so I
Dollar store Abby.
Yeah.
Then you go to the dollar store, you get action figures of Spooderman and Batfellow. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, here's an interesting question. Why does Abby need Owen to go? Because she could just go. She doesn't need Abby. Or I mean, Abby doesn't need Owen. Gosh, so many misspoken things.
She's keeping him on the hook. She's like, I want you to. She's keeping Owen on the hook. She's like, as soon as I'm done with this Joel thing, like, maybe not as soon because she doesn't rekindle things with him right away. But it's just like I think that she's trying to keep him on the hook still. That she's like, once I'm ready for it, I want you to be there.
Owen and Abby are two peas in a pod. You know, they grew up together. They're best friends. They have this common thing with their dad. So just putting myself in Abby's shoes, like, yeah, of course I'm going to go to one of you guys and say, hey, I have this revenge mission. I could really use your help. You know, I'm going to try to get the people closest to me to go with me who I can trust. So I think I totally agree that she's also keeping Owen on the hook, but I think there's also this ask in this rooted shared history that they have together where they have been close.
Yeah. She cornered him. Like she knew that he might back out. So she knows that she's screwed with him and that he's annoyed with it. So she went out and got everyone else enlisted and got Isaac's permission. He's the last piece in the puzzle. So she did her work. And so he has no other choice because even Mel's on board. He's screwed. She just manipulated the heck out of that situation. So good job. You locked him in. He no longer is going for you, which you knew he wouldn't. He's going because Mel and all of his friends are going, and he has no choice. So, so if he's not going for her, it feels like okay. So does she think that she can win him back on the way? She kind of tries, and then he reveals that Mel is pregnant, and that doesn't go well because that's when she runs off on her own. I it it feels like Owen needs Abby needs Owen there because she's still in love with him and wants more attempts at that. And but like I feel like the second reason is that she is trying to hurt him because he moved on. And so she trapped him with all of these things, right? Got all the friends on board, forcing him to go. And she's like, how dare you move on from me? I am going to force you to suffer through this because you hurt me by moving on, even though he was completely justified for moving on. But she was still mad about him irrationally for doing so. So I think that's the other reason.
I mean, yeah, I think Abby feels betrayed by Owen by him moving on because they had this shared revenge plan with Joel. They had this shared hatred, and by Owen moving on, that's a betrayal to Abby of, oh, you're no longer in it as much as I am. You're no longer on my side. So now I have to bring you back to my side by force or get some sort of revenge on you for betraying me.
I think that's all the thoughts I have about what we're going to talk about today. Anything else?
I want to talk more about the aquarium.
Yeah. How many episodes can we
Shut
spend
up
talking
about
about the aquarium?
Shut up
Shut
about
up.
the aquarium. Yeah, I guess after this flashback, we wake up and we're about to get hung.
Save it for next time. Let the
Okay.
intrigue be there, Tucker. Come on.
I'm gonna be super annoying and pedantic here. You're about
Which
to be
is different.
hanged
Oh.
because something can be hung up, but a person is hanged.
Tucker, did you say hung in referring to like killing a person? So dumb.
So stupid.
Tucker's
I
the
was
dumb
actually-
friend. Yeah.
Yeah. Wait a minute, we don't have a dumb friend in this group.
Yeah,
What are you
yeah.
talking about?
Ooh, oh, Tucker, honey. Yeah.
Oh, honey.
Is oh honey?
Beautiful
That's not the
setup.
Britney Spears character, right? That's the
No, that's a Katy Perry.
Katy Perry.
Katy Perry. That's the one.
Oh,
Amazing.
Yeah.
Oh me. Oh my gosh. All right. Well, then that does it for us today. Thank you for somehow listening to another 2 hours. Please like, comment, subscribe. I know nobody's going to comment. I think we get like one every 5 episodes.
Do it. Comment. Prove him wrong. Everybody comment.
I challenge you. And please listen to us on, or at least subscribe on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And listen to Eric's Indie Corners every Thursday. Any requests for Eric's Indie Corners, please drop them in the comments.
Oh man, I don't know about that.
comment.
That's risky.
Give us
Yeah.
And if it happens to coincide with something Eric was going to do anyway, then he'll do it.
I have a list, you guys. I've got a big old list of like many games that I have already played and ones that I want to play. And if it's already on that list, maybe I'll do it. But comment all the 100 comments. 100 comments forever. Leave 100 comments of all the games you want me to talk about.
That's more than double our current subscriber base.
Yeah.
Do it. 100. Everyone comment twice.
I'll just log into multiple accounts and just spam ourselves.
Exactly. That's the dream.
All right. Well, bye everyone.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.
Outro. Bleepity-doo, bleepity, bloopity blow.